welcome. You're watching Head to Head on UATV, and I'm Audit State Audit Office of Ukraine created a separate e-cabinet in the system of electronic public procurement, ProZorro. All actions of auditors are now in the public eye and are published in the ProZorro. So how will this electronic cabinet work? To talk more about this, we are joined in the studio today by Marta Gogol, legal advisor at Transparency International Ukraine. Hello, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
So we know that ProZorro system has improved the procurement system a lot in Ukraine, but we also know that sometimes there are cases when a company puts in a tender and also is registering some fake companies as opponents in the same tender. So how could the State Audit Service notice this cases?
Yes, thank you for your question. First of all, I want to say that actually controlling public procurement was a huge issue since the beginning of the reform on public procurement and adoption of ProZorro. The reason
it started in 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
2016.
16, okay.
Yes, and actually State Audit Service, like basic controlling body in Ukraine, didn't have useful leverages, legal leverages to control and prevent breaches on law in this sphere, and only after adoption of amendments on the law they could prevent such violations. And now there is a situation when they have this law, they have all useful leverages, and they can really control this sphere and prevent some corruption abuses. So they should do monitoring of public procurement through e-cabinet. And this e-cabinet was created by the state enterprise ProZorro. And as far as I know, 2 weeks ago, they began the first monitoring procedure.
Okay. How does this e-cabinet work? What is the mechanism? Is this some kind of a programming, electronic programming that is analyzing some databases of all the tenders?
Actually, no. E-cabinet is just a system, maybe another instrument in this procurement system. So the basic idea was the same as procurement procedure, like all information about the monitoring procedure should be transparent so that everybody could see everything, and State Audit Service should publish all information about procedure of monitoring in e-cabinet. So when they began monitor procedure, they should publish the first decision and just choose on which grounds they want to control.
To monitor this.
Yes. And the final decision also will be published in the system so that everybody could analyze, read and understand why they made such decision and why customer, for example, violated the law and why he paid some penalties to the state.
And what could be the reasons for this monitoring?
Under new amendments to the law, there are specified some grounds to begin monitoring procedure, such as risk indicator systems, information from letters from civil organizations, from other public institutions and authorities, and also information from media. So when there is one of these grounds, they can legally begin monitoring procedure and publish this information in the system. And also I want to note that a huge benefit from e-cabinet is that there won't be any pressure on the customer in this case, and also it can help to prevent maybe some facts of corruption during this control.
So how much was this e-cabinet needed when the ProZorro system was implemented in Ukraine? I assume we still have a lot of cases connected with corruption? So this is the tool to fight it?
No, actually, e-cabinet, it's not a tool because it's just a system where we can see information.
Okay. A control system,
yes.
So to say.
A tool in this case, I think, is State Audit Service, which control, which can analyze information, and I can say that system ProZorro or e-cabinet or risk indicators is a tool. it's just a mechanism which we can use to combat corruption.
For clear procedures.
Yes.
You mentioned that this e-cabinet has started its work 2 weeks ago. Is it already possible to say about some kind of results?
Unfortunately, I can't speak about results because, as far as I know, the first monitoring began, but the auditors still have some time to take final decision. And I hope that till the end of the year we will speak with you about these results and maybe have some more additional information about the problems maybe.
Do the monitors analyze only paper information or only digital information? How does this look like?
Actually, when there is information from risk indicator system, for example, they start monitoring of public procurement. And risk indicator system contains all information which is in ProZorro.
Okay.
And we should separate the information which is in ProZorro. So there are two types of information. One information is in PDF files or Word documents, and other information is machine readable. So risk indicator system is based on the machine readable information. For example, when customer announces open tender and doesn't publish a tender documentation, which is the basic document in such type of procedure, it is a breach of law, and it is already a ground to start monitoring. And also there are different types of other risk indicators which can be applied in a complex way. So there are different types of risk indicators. Some of them are simple, and others are those which should be applied in complex way. Simple risk indicators are such as when customer doesn't publish tender documentation during open tender, which is a breach of law, and others are like lots of disqualifications in one tender, and it is just information that could be checked by state audit service, but it is not always a breach of law.
But if the monitoring procedure has started, does it mean that the tender is being halted or not?
Actually, no. So they have just terms to check all information.
Okay. How much time do they have to check this?
15 days.
15 days.
From the beginning, they have 15 days to check all the information, and then they take final decision. And after that, if they confirmed some problems maybe in this procedure, yes, they give 5 days for customer to remove these violations or change the decisions or do something else to make his tender legal.
Okay.
Yeah, and in case if a customer doesn't want to remove these violations or disagrees with the decision of State Audit Service, in this case, auditors have legal right to bring to liability, to administrative liability, such a customer.
So they will fine the company, yes? This is some financial penalty.
Yes, financial penalty, but not business, only state company, state customer, for example, school, hospital, ministry, and so far and so on.
What happens with the private entities then?
Actually, they doesn't control private entities during monitoring procedure.
Only state entities are under this control.
Yes.
So what could be the penalty for these companies?
Fine in amount 12,000 hryvnias, and I think that in some cases they can give additional information to prosecutor if there are some features of crime, for example.
But well, the penalty is not very severe, so to say. But will these monitoring procedures be announced in advance, or are they being conducted secretly? So the participants of the tender, they do not know that they're being inspected.
No, actually, it's a huge benefit from e-cabinet because a customer, the same as bidders, can see that under this specific procurement is being held monitoring. So when the monitoring is started, there is published first decision that this procedure is being under control, for example, yeah, and everybody can see the whole way, how the way of taking decision by state audit service. So I can see this, you can see this, everybody.
Everybody can see that there is an inspection ongoing. But would this harm the inspection then? I mean, would there be still time for the participant to hide something, or is it being done in order to motivate the participant to solve the issue as soon as possible?
Actually, it's not monitoring, it's not about participant, it's not about bidder, it's always about the customer, about state enterprises, about state institutions. So
the quality of their work.
Yes.
Well, let's hope that this new element, this e-cabinet, will become a really effective tool to ensure safe procurement in Ukraine. Thank you so much for your comments and for this conversation.
Thank you.
This was Marta Gogol, legal advisor at Transparency International Ukraine. Thank you for watching Head to Head. I am Audit Office. Goodbye.